Aw.
All right. And that is 0.16. Geocaching is where people have hidden items in the woods, and we've used a GPS to go find those items.
Sort of like a high-tech treasure hunt.
Yeah.
The finding the geocaches and going out in the woods and seeing stuff is fun. I'm not so sure about going out with my parents.
As kids get into their tweens and early teens, they begin the process of a little bit of separation and individuation. They want to be sort of their own.
In the past few years, just haven't wanted to spend as much time with them.
Would you like us to leave so you can talk?
Humor dispels a lot of anxiety, minimizes the stress in an otherwise stressful situation.
Here's the log.
Official geocaching log.
When she came back from Christmas in 4th grade, all the girls in her class started being a lot more mature. Some of the girls they get personality disorders, shall we say. You see who's wearing a bra or whatever. By 6th grade, most of them had reached menarche.
There was sufficient data to suggest that girls are going into puberty earlier. There's greater rates of obesity in preteens and teens as well, and that people feel that that is one of the contributing factors to the earlier onset of puberty in girls. Certain chemicals in the environment, also called endocrine disrupting chemicals or EDCs, and that perhaps it's the exposure to some of these chemicals that's causing an earlier onset of puberty.
It's happened so fast it almost has to be something chemical or something environmental.
Choosing cosmetics that are phthalate-free might be one way of doing it. Avoiding ever using plastics inside a microwave would be another good way to minimize your exposure to some of these endocrine disrupting chemicals. Being physically active, eating together, minimizing your exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals.
Puberty is a hard time for kids because they have the hormones and they have mood changes and it's new to them and they don't know how to handle it. You don't see it.
I don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't worry about it.
You're living it.
You're living
I don't care.
Their peers will interact with them more as what they look like rather than what their chronologic age is. That mismatch places them at a lot of risks. It's going to be harder for them to say no. That, I think, is one of those developmental processes that most teenagers develop, but suddenly you're now put into that situation a year or two earlier than you had been.
2006.
I wanted to make sure she had the information and that she knew it. And, you know, my mother had done obviously the same for me and her mother for her. The school did a pretty good job with the information, I have to say. It was Shine's favorite class all year.
Family life is teaching us about puberty. I really don't want to talk about family life because it's disgusting and awful and gross. They were around the right time, just maybe not so detailed.
Anytime that you undergo a great deal of change in a fairly short period of time, there's some challenges for the child and the parents, I think.
If you continuously rescue your kids, they'll just get into bigger and bigger issues. And so allow them to enjoy some of the consequences of their choices.
Some of the girls that are in 8th grade look like adults. And I think that's younger than it was when we were in 8th grade.
If I brought somebody who was 10 years old and looked more like a 16 or 17-year-old, we interact with her like a 16 or 17-year-old. I think that a lot of them would probably like to be girls a little bit longer.
Being a kid is fun, like generally like really, really fun. And I don't want to be an adult too soon. I have no earthly idea what next year is going to have for me. Well, there is a stuffed animal, but it's kind of strange. Look at it. I think I will keep doing this for a while because it's fun and I get to see a lot of places.